Published, 17:30 Eastern Daylight Saving Time, the 16th of July 2018. Updated, 17:30 Eastern Daylight Saving Time, the 16th of July 2018. 9 years it took him. 9 years to get over the snide comments, the bitchy asides, the horrible feeling there were people out there who considered him less than a worthy Open champion. His wife Marian would tell him, "Paul, stop it, you've got to get over this." His late coach, Adam Hunter, would tear his hair out on an almost daily basis, urging him, "Paul, for goodness sake, let your clubs do the talking and prove them wrong," but Paul Lawrie couldn't let it go. Couldn't cope with the perception in some misguided minds that the 1999 Open at Carnoustie was all about Jean van de Velde's collapse at the 18th and not at least a little about the magnificent golf the Scot played to take advantage. Paul Lawrie admits it took him at least 9 years to get over the critics of his 1999 Open title. One of the big struggles for Lawrie was that people got the entirely wrong impression of him. He was young, I was angry and I didn't handle it very well at all, says Lawrie now. Perhaps the worst thing was that people got entirely the wrong impression about the man from Aberdeen. Spend some time with him and he's anything but surly or sulky, but funny, insightful and as genuine as they come. He tells a lovely story about the time recently when he took the claret jug into a local school. We put the trophy on the table, and I told a little story about its importance and how much it meant to win it, and then the teacher asked if there were any questions, said Lawrie. So, one kid stands up, he's chewing gum and he says, "Are you telling me you've only got one of them?" I look at the teacher, and then at the boy and reply, "Yeah, that's right," and he looks me straight in the eye and says, "It's nae very good, is it?" Now that really is a tale Lawrie wouldn't have been able to tell a decade ago. In fact, the Paul Lawrie story is among the best that British golf has conjured up. The man who turned pro at the age of 17 with a 5 handicap and rose from the ranks to win the most precious title in the game. Having turned professional age 17, Lawrie soared through the ranks to take the Open title. He thought back in the day it would be an unbelievable achievement if I could make it onto the tour. To be honest, so to win 8 times in all and play in 2 Ryder Cups, well, it's way more than I imagined, he says. Every bit as admirable is how he used his Open victory as a force for giving back. Even before his triumph he had been thinking of setting up a foundation aimed at introducing youngsters to play the game, but didn't consider himself a big enough name. Winning the claret jug changed all that. In that sense, the Open victory came along at exactly the right time, he said. Suddenly we had a platform. We started it in 2001 and being an Open champion helped it become bigger and better. Amazing how it snowballed over the past 17 years, so much so that it's hard to imagine there's a single kid playing golf and living in the northeast of Scotland who's not competed in tournaments run by the Paul Lawrie Foundation. On the back of the 1999 title, the Scot set up his own foundation to get youngsters into golf. All told, there are more than 70 staged each year for various ages, and either Paul or Marian will invariably be there at the prize presentation. There's flag events for the under-12s, Staplefords for the under-15s and Junior Opens for those under 18. We haven't seen anyone progress to gaining a card on the European Tour, but, to be honest, that's not the point, said Lawrie. I've always said it's not about finding an Open champion but getting kids to enjoy the game and go on to become members of clubs. We must have had thousands do that. We meet at the Paul Lawrie Golf Centre, a lovely facility on the outskirts of Aberdeen just a mile or two from where he lives. As ever, the busy Marian is manning the coffee shop. Lawrie offers an update on the long-standing foot and back injuries that have wrecked his final full season on the European Tour, and will prevent him playing at Carnoustie, or for the rest of the year. He will turn 50 on New Year's Day, making him eligible for senior golf, and is hoping to play a number of events on the Champions Tour in America next year. I think I'll make a good senior, he says. I can still hit it far enough, and I've still got the short game. Maybe I'll do a Monty and win some majors. Lawrie turns 50 on New Year's Day and has one eye on competing on the senior golf circuit. Lawrie's week at the 1999 Open began with a qualifier at Downfield. after making it through, he couldn't find any accommodation locally, so decided to do the 90-minute commute each day from Aberdeen. Were his goals. It was interesting to Adam and myself that half the field were raging in the newspapers about the high rough and the setup being a joke, he said. Adam kept saying to me that if I kept a double bogey off my card I could win. So, when I went in the rough, I hit it out sideways. I never tried to hit it forward once. I saw players trying to hit 6 or 7 irons and you couldn't do that. Lawrie was 10 shots back going into the final round and thought he'd made serious strides forward when he signed for a fabulous 67. He never expected to find himself in a three-man playoff for the title with Van de Velde and American Justin Leonard, after the Frenchman made his disastrous triple bogey 7 at the 18th. Lawrie quickly seized control in extra time, with birdies at the first and second. At the fourth playoff hole, the 18th, he struck a 4-iron so good it deservedly stands alongside Sandy Lyle's 7-iron to win the 1988 Masters as the greatest shot played by a Scot in a major. Sandy was always my idol growing up, so if you say it was as good as his shot, I'll certainly take that, said Lawrie. While Van de Velde buckled, Lawrie can remember holding his nerve to take the claret jug when arguably the most dramatic championship in the modern era had concluded. He drove home in his Subaru Impreza with the claret jug on the backseat. He had become the first qualifier to win the Open since exemptions were introduced for the top players in 1963, but that was not the story, as plenty overlooked Lawrie's great play and concentrated solely on Van de Velde's extraordinary cock-up. I just found that extremely hurtful, and I didn't put my side of it across very well, said Lawrie. It definitely held me back for 7, 8, 9 years. If I'd listened to Marian and Adam instead of fighting people in the papers, I'd have won more things. He puts his point across well, now. I never said I wasn't lucky, I always realized I got the break of my life that day, he recalls. My point was, plenty of players get such an opportunity, but you've got to be ready and I didn't get enough credit for that. How many great players have we seen given chances to win majors but they don't take their opportunity, but I was ready. Adam had drilled into me that I might only get one opportunity, and that's what all the hard work is about. It's the same at the Ryder Cup. If you're not ready, you will absolutely crumble. If you're not ready, you will absolutely crumble, Lawrie tells Sportsmail when quizzed on 1999. I think after playing so well to win my singles, and contribute to the miracle at Medina in 2012, the public perception changed. Maybe he can play a bit after all, that sort of thing. It's good to see Lawrie now finally getting the recognition he deserves. Earlier this year at a sports awards dinner in Glasgow, he received a Lifetime Achievement gong and was visibly moved by tribute speeches from none other than Sir Alex Ferguson and Jack Nicklaus. Lawrie's passion for the game has been passed on to his two sons. Craig is currently playing on the third rung of pro golf, the Euro Pro Tour, while Michael is a +2 handicap amateur at Stirling University. Craig was always going to give it a go and I said to him that as long as you give it your all, we'll be behind you, said Lawrie. I can't stand people who don't put everything into it. What's the point of that? Michael is more business-minded and has really enjoyed his first year at Stirling. As for Lawrie himself, his playing status might be uncertain right now, but you can be sure he'll still be attending prize presentations for Aberdeen's juniors, and trying to persuade school kids that winning one claret jug is actually pretty good.